the politicians aren't talking about the real roots of this war. I haven't heard any politicians speak about the fact that it is our fossil fuel dependency that is fueling the war machine that is now operating in Ukraine.
What do we want? Climate justice!
We used to be climate activists calling for a just transition away from fossil fuels towards renewables to secure a just and safe future. But on the 24th of February, everything became about the now.
The war in Ukraine has begun.
Russia is the world's second largest oil exporter.
Energy is a major source of power for President Putin.
The war in Ukraine has added new urgency to Dominika Lasota's work. The 21-year-old, along with fellow activists, has spent 2022 traveling around the world, from Brussels to New York to Egypt, trying to gain the attention of world leaders. They've confronted Emmanuel Macron over French purchases of Russian fossil fuels.
You can stop the war in Ukraine by stopping buying fossil fuels from Russia.
And even disrupted a Russian panel at the COP27 summit.
Your industry, your fossil fuel industry, that's killing the people.
We came to the United Nations General Assembly Week alarming the public, the people, the politicians that buying fossil fuels from a dictator means fueling his war machine and means contributing to the genocide of our friends and to this crisis reality that we're stuck in now.
For these Eastern European activists, the climate crisis and the war's connection to Russian fossil fuels is personal.
My grandfather worked in the Energy Authority of Chernobyl as the director. He kept coming back to Chernobyl after the disaster to monitor the situation. The workers there, like him, never got real protection from the radiation risks. My grandfather's diagnoses of radiation disease were also kept from him for 2 years. It seems like the crimes against our country are never ending. My cousin is fighting in the war, and he's seeing all the atrocities that are being committed by the terrorists that are coming to murder, to rape people in my country. I'm still here telling the story of the negligence of a state propped up by the petrochemical industry and fossil fuels. The world hasn't learned the lesson.
We've been fighting for the full embargo on Russian fossil fuels.
On December 5th, an EU ban on seaborne imports of Russian oil went into effect. In addition, the EU and other major economies set a price cap of $60 per barrel on these imports, meaning Russia will have a harder time selling oil around the world.
We call it a partial embargo is obviously because it doesn't include gas. And gas is still the biggest source of money for Putin because gas is Putin's secret weapon. And this is what he got Europe dependent on for the past decades.
Why aren't we using measures that are influencing Russia in the same way, in a full way?
Since the war began, Russia has heavily reduced its flow of natural gas to Europe, causing dips in supply and spikes in global energy prices. In an effort to curb Europe's dependence on Russia and its gas flow, the EU released a long-term plan to cut Russian fossil fuel imports, starting with gas, by, quote, well before 2030. To meet energy demand, European leaders have replaced those imports with alternatives, like American liquid natural gas, shipments of which have more than doubled in 2022. But climate justice activists see another option for Europe's future.
What Joe Biden says a lot about is LNG terminals and LNG supplies for Europe for fighting the energy crisis. And how can you fight fossil fuel war with other fossil fuels? Like, it doesn't make any sense. We have the answer on the table, and the answer is renewable energy. Renewable energy can be a source that is diverse, that is just, and that is sustainable.
Antoine Hoff is an energy analyst and research scholar at Columbia University. He thinks Europe won't easily give up its taste for gas.
The renewable capacity cannot be developed on a short fuse. It's a long process. Even if we devoted today all the investment needed to completely make up for Russian supplies, it would take years, theoretically, for these investments to translate into actual capacity. But there's certainly more momentum, more impetus towards rapid decarbonization policy.
But the onset of winter means a continued reliance on fossil fuels in many cases. Germany, which got 60% of its energy from Russian gas, has reconnected coal plants and built its first import terminal for liquefied natural gas. Still, optimists say that Europe has renewed interest in ambitious renewable energy goals for the long term. But the young activists are tired of waiting.
The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be divided.
There is this whole vision of Eastern Europe as like the cheap kind of background to the rest of the developed grand Europe of France or Germany. The region and our families and our stories, these are stories of oppression, of war, of the experiences of living under the Soviet reality for our grandparents, for our parents. We haven't been heard for so long. We have been ignored, we have been questioned, we have been laughed at. We're just ready to speak the truth on what's going on. The resistance that we're bringing with the sunflowers is also much wider than Ukraine. It's a resistance of people against the war, of people against this profit-driven politics, and of people against this fossil fuel system that is fundamentally about destruction, violence, death, and threat to all of us. Sunflowers, they are a sign of power in the face of great horror, but they are also a sign of peace and real change.